Dear child, stop scrolling. Everything changed the moment the hidden case file was unlocked. The truth your soulmate had been searching for was never lost, it was deliberately buried. One forgotten signature was about to expose the person who destroyed your future together. Stay until the very end, because the final page of this file will reveal a name that nobody expected. Listen carefully. For years, everyone believed your love story ended because destiny had chosen different paths. Friends whispered that your soulmate had simply moved on. Family members insisted that nothing could have changed what happened. Even you slowly began accepting the painful thought that perhaps your connection had never been strong enough to survive the storms placed before it. But deep inside your heart, there was always one unanswered question. Why did everything fall apart so suddenly? Why did every promise disappear without a real explanation? That question never stopped echoing inside your soul. Your soulmate carried the very same question every single day. No matter how hard they tried to build another future, every road somehow led back to the memories of you. They smiled in front of others while secretly carrying an emptiness that no one could understand. They tried convincing themselves that forgetting you was the only way to move forward, but every attempt failed. Every forgotten photograph, every old message, every familiar place only reminded them that something had never felt complete. It was as though a missing piece of the story had been intentionally hidden. Years later, something unexpected happened. A retired investigator contacted your soulmate with trembling hands. His voice carried regret instead of confidence. He admitted that an old family dispute had never truly ended. Before leaving his position forever, he had discovered a sealed cabinet that was never supposed to be opened again. Inside that cabinet rested dozens of forgotten documents. But one dusty folder immediately caught his attention. Across the front of it were faded words that sent chills through his entire body. Confidential case file. No case number. No official explanation. Only a handwritten warning. Never let them know the truth. The investigator knew something was terribly wrong. Instead of destroying the file like someone clearly expected him to, he secretly copied every page and contacted your soulmate. At first, your soulmate almost ignored the message, believing it was another cruel joke from someone trying to reopen old wounds. But something deep inside refused to let them walk away. Curiosity became stronger than fear. When they finally agreed to meet, the investigator carefully placed the old folder onto the table without saying a single word. The room became completely silent. Dust slowly drifted into the sunlight as your soulmate reached toward the worn cover. Their hands were shaking so badly they could barely lift the first page. The opening document wasn't about money. It wasn't about property. It wasn't about a legal battle. It was about you. Your full name appeared beside your soulmate's name in a report created years before your separation. Your soulmate froze. Their breathing became heavy. Nothing made sense anymore. If an official file existed about both of you, why had nobody ever spoken about it? Who created it? Why was it hidden? Who benefited from keeping it buried all these years? The investigator quietly whispered, "Don't assume everyone around you wanted your love story to survive." Those words hit harder than anything your soulmate had ever heard. They continued turning each fragile page. Every document seemed carefully arranged, almost like someone had built a secret timeline explaining exactly how your relationship was slowly destroyed from the shadows. Anonymous letters. Mysterious phone records. Altered statements. Missing evidence. Everything pointed toward one disturbing reality. Someone had been planning your separation long before either of you realized it. This wasn't bad luck. It wasn't misunderstanding. It wasn't fate. It was manipulation. Don't skip. As your soulmate kept reading, their heartbeat became faster with every page. They remembered moments that had once seemed like ordinary coincidences. Strange phone calls that suddenly ended. Meetings that were mysteriously cancelled. Letters that never arrived. Family conversations that suddenly changed after private discussions behind closed doors. Every painful memory was now beginning to connect like pieces of an enormous puzzle. Then they found something even more disturbing. A detailed timeline listed every important day in your relationship. The day you first met. The day feelings grew stronger. The day marriage was first discussed. The day everything unexpectedly collapsed. Next to each date, someone had written handwritten notes. Short instructions. Cold instructions. Delay. Separate. Distract. Keep them apart. Your soulmate couldn't believe their eyes. No ordinary person could have known every private detail of your relationship. Only someone extremely close. Someone trusted. Someone welcomed into both families. Could have created something this detailed. The investigator slowly looked toward your soulmate and quietly said, "I believe this file was never meant to protect anyone. It was created to hide the person responsible." Those words filled the room with unbearable silence. Your soulmate's hands refused to stop shaking. They turned one more page. And suddenly, an old photograph slipped out of the folder. The picture showed several smiling people gathered together years ago. At first, nothing seemed unusual. But when your soulmate turned the photograph over, there was a handwritten sentence. A sentence that changed absolutely everything. The person standing closest to you is the one who destroyed your future. Your soulmate slowly lifted their eyes toward the faces inside that picture. And in that exact moment, they recognized someone they had trusted more than anyone else, whose name appeared again on the very next sealed page. Your soulmate stared at that photograph for what felt like an eternity. Every face brought back memories of happier days, but now those memories carried a completely different meaning. Laughter that once sounded genuine suddenly felt rehearsed. Smiles that once seemed warm now appeared carefully hidden behind invisible masks. The investigator gently slid the photograph back onto the table and whispered, "Sometimes the person who destroys a love story never raises their voice. They simply stand close enough to quietly change every decision." Those words echoed through the room as your soulmate slowly reached for the next sealed page. Their hands were trembling, but they knew there was no turning back now. The seal finally broke. Inside was a confidential statement that had never been shown to either of you. It described a series of private meetings held before your relationship unexpectedly fell apart. According to the documents, someone had secretly visited both families, telling completely different stories to each side. One family was told that you had changed your mind about the future. The other was told that your soulmate had already chosen someone else. Neither story was true, yet both families believed them because the messenger appeared trustworthy. That single deception planted fear, doubt, and silence where love had once lived. Instead of asking each other the truth, everyone acted on lies that had been carefully crafted behind closed doors. Don't skip. The deeper your soulmate read, the more painful each discovery became. There were copies of letters that had never reached their destination. One heartfelt message you had written disappeared before it could ever be delivered. Another emotional reply from your soulmate had been intercepted and hidden away. Page after page proved that your conversations had been intentionally broken apart. Every misunderstanding that seemed like fate had actually been created by someone working patiently in the shadows. Years of heartbreak had not happened by accident, they had been engineered one silent decision at a time. Then another envelope slipped from the folder. Across the front were only 4 chilling words. "Read this last." Your soulmate hesitated, but something compelled them to open it anyway. Inside was a handwritten confession from an anonymous witness. "I stayed silent because I was afraid. I watched someone destroy 2 innocent hearts while pretending to protect the family. I should have spoken years ago. I heard every conversation. I saw every hidden meeting. I know exactly who ordered the lies." Your soulmate felt their heart pounding louder than ever. If this witness truly knew everything, then the mystery was finally close to ending. The confession continued, explaining that just days before your relationship collapsed, a secret gathering had taken place inside a family home. Only a handful of people had been invited. Phones were turned off. Doors were locked. No outsiders were allowed inside. During that meeting, one person insisted that your future together had to end immediately, no matter the emotional cost. They believed separating the two of you would protect their own hidden secret. Everyone else remained silent, too frightened to challenge the decision. Your soulmate's eyes filled with tears. They remembered that exact week. They remembered how suddenly everyone around them had started acting differently. Calls stopped. Messages disappeared. Plans were cancelled without explanation. Now every unanswered question finally had a reason. The investigator slowly pointed toward the final section of the case file. "There's only one thing left," he said quietly. "The identity of the person who organized everything." Your soulmate swallowed nervously. The final envelope looked older than all the others. Across the seal was a single warning written in red ink. "Opening this page will change every relationship forever." With a deep breath, your soulmate broke the seal. And the very first name printed inside made them step backward in complete shock. Your soulmate could hardly breathe. The name printed on that page wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a distant relative. And it wasn't someone they had forgotten over the years. It was someone they had trusted completely. For several long seconds, they simply stared at the page, hoping their eyes were playing tricks on them. They blinked again and again, but the name never changed. Every memory connected to that person began rushing back at once. Birthday celebrations. Family dinners. Advice that once seemed caring. Encouraging smiles. Quiet conversations. Everything that had once felt sincere now seemed covered by a frightening layer of deception. The investigator slowly broke the silence. "I warned you that this truth would change every relationship." Your soulmate nodded without speaking. Their heart was no longer asking whether the file was real. Now it was asking something far more painful. Why? Why would someone who claimed to love the family spend years destroying two people who genuinely loved each other? That answer appeared on the next page. There, neatly attached beneath the official documents, was a handwritten journal entry copied from a private notebook. According to the report, the mastermind believed your relationship would expose a secret they had hidden for years. They feared that if you and your soulmate stayed together, old lies would eventually come to light. Rather than risking the truth being uncovered, they slowly began controlling every situation around both families. They whispered different stories to different people. They encouraged unnecessary misunderstandings. They created arguments where none existed. They convinced others that waiting was the safest decision. Little by little, they separated two hearts without either of you realizing someone was guiding every step. Don't skip. Your soulmate suddenly remembered dozens of strange moments that had never made sense before. The evening an important phone call mysteriously disconnected. The letter that was supposedly lost. The meeting that was cancelled at the last minute. The family gathering where everyone behaved strangely after one private conversation. Each memory now matched another page inside the case file. Nothing had been random. Every disappointment had been carefully arranged. Then the investigator uncovered a small sealed evidence bag hidden beneath the documents. Inside it rested an old USB drive. Its label had almost faded away with time. Only 3 handwritten words remained visible. "Play when ready." The investigator connected it to an old laptop. The screen remained black for several seconds. Then, a grainy recording slowly appeared. The date shown in the corner was from years earlier, just days before your relationship suddenly ended. Several familiar voices could be heard inside a private room. At first, the conversation sounded ordinary. But then one clear sentence changed everything. "We can't let them stay together." Silence filled the room. Another voice answered, "If they discover the truth, everything we've hidden for years will fall apart." Your soulmate froze. They recognized both voices immediately. Their hands began shaking uncontrollably. These were not rumors anymore. Not assumptions. Not forgotten memories. This was undeniable proof. Tears rolled down their face as years of confusion finally turned into heartbreaking clarity. The investigator quietly paused the recording. "There is still one final recording left," he whispered. "It contains the full confession." Your soulmate looked at the second unopened audio file. Its title sent chills through the entire room. "The Day I Admitted Everything." With trembling fingers, they slowly moved the cursor toward the play button. Your soulmate's finger hovered over the play button. The room was so silent that even the ticking of the old clock sounded unbearably loud. The investigator didn't say a word. He simply stepped back, knowing that whatever was hidden inside this final recording could never be unheard. Years of unanswered questions. Years of heartbreak. Years of believing that fate had been cruel. Were all about to collide with the truth. With one deep breath, your soulmate pressed play. For a few seconds, only static filled the speakers. Then a familiar voice slowly emerged. It was calm. It was confident. And it carried no sign of regret. "I suppose one day someone will hear this," the voice began. "If you're listening, then it means the case file was found. And my secret is finally over." Your soulmate immediately recognized the voice. Their heart nearly stopped. It belonged to the very person they had trusted without question. The confession continued. "I never hated either of you. In fact, I knew your love was real. That was exactly the problem. If the two of you had stayed together, certain family secrets would have surfaced. People would have started asking questions that I couldn't answer. Everything I had spent years protecting would have collapsed." The room fell silent again. Your soulmate closed their eyes. Every painful memory now had a terrifying explanation. The voice continued speaking. "So I made a choice. I created misunderstandings. I hid letters. I changed messages before they were delivered. I convinced family members that they were protecting the future when they were actually destroying it. Every decision looked natural because I made sure no one saw the full picture." Don't skip. Your soulmate felt tears streaming down their face. The investigator quietly handed them a box of tissues but never interrupted the recording. The confession became even more disturbing. "I watched both of you suffer," the voice admitted. "I saw the tears. I heard the questions. I knew you blamed yourselves. Sometimes I wanted to tell the truth. But every year that passed made confessing even harder. Eventually, I convinced myself that silence was the safest option. Those words pierced your soulmate's heart like nothing before. For years, they had believed they weren't enough. They had questioned every decision. They had wondered if they had somehow failed you. Now they realized. Someone else had been carrying the guilt all along. The recording wasn't finished. The voice suddenly changed. It became slower, weaker, almost emotional. If you're hearing this today,